So let's now read data from the session, because otherwise storing data is not too helpful. Now, I want to read data from the session in this single review view, because that is the view which is responsible for rendering a single review. And in the end, I want to find out whether that review which we're loading is a favorite. Because if it is, then I want to show something like, this is my favorite, or anything like that, in the template instead of showing that form. If it's not my favorite, I instead want to show the form. So to achieve this, I need to get access to the session in my view here. And how do we do that in this detail view? Well, there we can override a couple of methods. For example, the getObject method, which gets us an object from the database. But I'm looking for the getContextData method. This method defines the context that will be set for the template. Now this will, for example, contain the single review which it fetched automatically. Don't forget, that's the idea behind this detail view. It automatically fetches a review here. So that will already be part of that context, which is why I'm storing that already generated context in a context variable, so that I don't lose that already stored context data. So in this case, this fetched review object. But we can add more data to that context. And here, I want to add a isFavorite key to my context. And here, I want to store true if my review ID stored in the session in the favorite review key is equal to the review ID for which I loaded a review here. Now to achieve this, we need to get access to the request and to that loaded object in this detail view. Now in the official docs, we can learn that we get access to the loaded review in this case through self.object. So this special object property in this class will give us access to that automatically loaded review. And we get access to the request through self.request. This is information which I got from the official docs. So now we got everything we need. Now we got the favorite ID by accessing request.session and then here favorite review. So this key in this dictionary. This is then the currently stored favorite ID. And then here, the value which should be stored in the context under the isFavorite key should then be the result of the comparison, where I compare the favorite ID from my session to the ID of the loaded review, like this. And then we can return the context here, which now has a isFavorite key, which indicates whether this loaded object is our favorite or not. So now we can go to the single review template and render this paragraph if isFavorite is true, and render the form if it's false. So here I can then add the if tag and check if isFavorite, in which case this will be rendered. Else, this form will be rendered, and then we close this block with endIf. And if we save this now and reload reviews 1, I have this button here, even if I redirect. So that doesn't seem to work. And this can be a tricky problem. It's related to which data we're storing in a session. Here in Add Favorite view, we are storing the review ID. Now, which type of data is that though? Is it a string or a number? You might think it's a number, but it's actually coming from this form, from this input. That's where we are fetching this data from in the end. And such data submitted by an input is always treated as a string, so as text. So actually we store the ID as text in our session. Even if it's 1, we store it as text. Now this ID field on the loaded review, however, will be a number. So this comparison does not yield true even if we have the same number technically, because one time it's a string and one time it's a number. To work around that, I'll convert the ID, which I get from my review model, to a string by wrapping it with the str function. And if we do that and reload here now, I see this is my favorite. If I, however, enter reviews/2, I see the favorite button until I click it, which is when this switches to my favorite. Now reviews1 is no longer my favorite. So this logic is working now.